Gonzo Radio.
And it's a veritable miracle that we made it here when we did. Welcome to the Gonzo Radio Sports Desk. I'm Big Daddy Gonzo, coming to you live from Gonzo Radio headquarters here in palatial Western Boca Raton, home of the Iguanas. And seated across from me, matriculating on your screen, I believe from left to right. Are you left to right? Yeah, you're left to right.
More in the center, I think, but I'll go left to right for you.
Yeah, that would be Matthew Mazz Masaracchio.
Hello, everybody.
I did not make any. I did not make any banners this week because, as you've seen in the lead up to this, that I'm recovering from a hectic regular life today. And even though I did a lot of pre-production yesterday, which yesterday was also an absolute downward rolling dumpster fire for me personally, but I handled it because it's what I do. I'm not only a producer here, but I'm also a producer in life. But you know him and you love him. You can see him and look how well centered in your shot you are.
Show 3, and I am on the mark.
Week to week, he improves his game over and over and over again. It's your wife telling you.
That's my focus. Yeah. Well, I can't take all the credit for it, but certainly if credit was to be given, it would be given to her for sure.
Yeah. Well, it helps you get good pipes. Turn your microphone slightly this way. That way you're talking across the field, as we call it.
Can you hear me now? Check, please. Can you hear me now?
Of course, we could hear you before, but now we can hear you better.
Awesome.
We can hear you much better. Well, we've got a lot to get to. I'm not going to use my catchphrase from the regular show. By the way, the Gonzo Radio Show, the regular Gonzo Radio Show, entertainment, craziness, fake news, real news, nutty news, and comedy coming up at 8 o'clock. Directly after this, there'll be a short break, and then we will bring the Gonzo Radio Show hilarity to you. We have special guests tonight, a comedy couple. It will be sort of the love edition. That's why I'm wearing the red Gonzo Radio t-shirt.
Red's your color, by the way.
It's all about the love.
Yeah, red really brings out your eyes.
Yeah, no, that's my red. My eyes are red.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, I have very patriotic red, white, and blue eyes.
I see that.
So tonight we have a couple of specific items to get to. In the first segment, though, we are going to concentrate on baseball, Major League Baseball.
Did you know that pitchers and catchers reported today?
Yes, pitchers and catchers today.
National holiday, I think.
Well,
for some.
For you.
For some.
For you baseball freaks.
Well, I'm going to prove that point here shortly, why it should be a national holiday perhaps. But
right. Well, I mean, I'm a baseball enthusiast. I mean, I didn't grow up with baseball here in South Florida, but I took to it real quick because, you know, I mean, when I was a kid, here's something weird. What baseball team do you think I was a fan of when I was a kid? Before the Marlins showed up, what baseball team would you think I would have been a fan of?
Give me a time frame. Give me a year, like maybe in the mid-'70s or so?
The Marlins showed up in 93.
Okay.
So I became baseball cognizant probably in the early 70s.
Okay.
I did. I became baseball cognizant in the early 70s. I knew who I liked in the early 70s.
My guess would have been maybe the Big Red Machine, maybe Mr. Pete Rose and company.
Oh, way off.
Okay.
Way off. Well, I will say this. They were in the same division, the Western Division. They were actually, from time to time, they were direct rivals of the Big Red Machine, the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Wow, that's a pretty storied franchise, yeah.
Yeah, I got into the Dodgers when my uncle came back from Korea and he brought me a blue Dodgers hat. I really didn't give much of a shit about baseball either way, but he brought me a Dodgers hat and I was like, ooh, the Dodgers, they're good. I knew they were good. So, and then you had those storied back-to-back years of the Dodgers versus the Oakland Athletics in the World Series. And that's when I grew to both love and hate Reggie Jackson.
Well, understandable. Yeah, he was quite the person on the scene at that time. He was Oakland still in the early 70s until he got his fame and stuff with the Yankees.
Right. Oh no, he was a monster in the 70s. This guy was a monster out of the box. I mean, the minute he hit the dugout, he was a beast. But he was the straw then, and he was the straw even more so when he got to the Yankees. Well, that's when he became the straw that stirs the drink. But I was a big Dodgers fan for the longest time.
Yeah.
I mean, the Kirk Gibson home run.
Magical.
I know where I was. I was in Boynton Beach. I was at a birthday party. Me and my brother, who by association was also a big Dodgers fan, my brother and I were the only two people at this party, by the way, which was a birthday party partially for me because I was born in mid-October. Everybody's just, woo, party, 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 party. Me and my brother are the only two assholes sitting off in the corner. The guy had a TV, a console TV on wheels, so we wheeled that bitch around, and we were the only two people watching the game, and we were the only two people jumping up and down, yelling, you missed it. It's the most unbelievable. Oh, my God. My brother hugging, jumping up and down.
Baseball
it was
does bring out the emotion in you. I have so many stories and memories from when I was a child. I chased the Phillies. I've chased them my whole life. Been a Mike Schmidt fan my whole life. I've always chased him, and that's my team.
That guy could ball.
Yeah.
I saw Mike Schmidt play spring. I went to a lot of spring training games, a lot of spring ball. Yankees, when they were here in Fort Lauderdale, they provided a great backdrop for a lot of great players. I even went to go see the Texas Rangers when they were in Pompano Park.
Oh yeah,
got a chance to see Nolan Ryan warming up, loosening up. And me and my friends are hanging over the fence, and we're going, heat it up, heat it up.
Yeah.
Heat it. We wanted to see him throw 100 miles an hour.
It's one of the things he did very well.
And we're pestering the shit out of him for like 10 minutes while he's just casually throwing for him. And
he's soft tossing it 90 miles an hour.
Big dude.
Yeah.
I was stunned at how large he was.
Yeah.
I was like, he should play football. And he's casually tossing it like at 80, 90 miles an hour. So we turn around and we take 2 steps. Pa! Woo!
What was that sound?
It was like we literally went, and we whipped back around, and he threw one more for us. He goes, happy now? We were like, yes, sir. Yeah. Thanks, Rocky. Bye.
Thank you,
right
Mr.
off.
Ryan.
Oh, he was awesome.
Yeah.
He was awesome. But we saw a lot of spring ball, and I saw a lot of really great players play spring ball. And, this is even before the Marlins showed up. So I grew to really love and appreciate baseball even before we had our own team.
Yeah, for me, baseball has been a big part of my life. Growing up, made a lot of friends, maintained a lot of friendships growing up, obviously. The difference is, I feel today, is baseball, when I was growing up, it was community versus community. You had a sense of pride. The sport was pushed among the youth, and the youth loved baseball. The issues we have today, though, with baseball is baseball's in trouble. Does anybody know when the season starts by chance? It's actually coming up soon.
End of March?
March 28th is official opening day for baseball. My issue with baseball is this. It's a sport that needs to promote better. It doesn't promote its stars. Unlike in football, where you have teams that you don't necessarily can identify with the players directly because they're players in helmets, and you can't really associate faces with numbers and jerseys. Baseball, you have that. You have these guys in your living rooms potentially 6 days a week. You see the faces. You can hear the stories.
Oh,
you
for
can,
sure.
You can identify with the players. Baseball hasn't done that.
Like, okay, so I'm doing a little overlays here for you, and I'm putting players out like Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah.
Okay, and a guy like Mike Davis. Okay, you know who Mike Davis is, manly man, number 19. Back when he was with the Orioles,
of course.
I mean, he was, and Mike was no joke, and you knew who he was. You didn't have to, check the lineup, you knew it.
The stars were almost as big as the game. Now it's changed. We have the Florida Marlins here. So let me give you a little bit of a history on where we are with at least our local team here, the Florida Marlins. This is the business side of the game, and this is where I think baseball starts to fall short. Since the Marlins, let's go just the last 20 years, the Florida Marlins. Currently, you've probably heard the news that the Florida Marlins were acquired last year by Bruce Sherman, which is a gentleman that represents a group of investors.
For a whole lot of money.
Oh, yeah, tons of money. One of the most important figures in this transaction was Derek Jeter.
$1.2 billion?
That was the sale price of the organization. Now, Jeffrey Loria, who he bought the team from, that group bought the team from, purchased the team back in 2002. $156 million was the sale of the club at that time. Now, on paper, it was only $30 million. Now, think about this. Man held the team for 20 years. He sold the team for $1.2 billion.
That's all he came out of pocket for.
That's a pretty good profit. Now, I'm not going to be the guy who jumps on a soapbox and says that players should make so much money and owners should make so much money and doctors should make so much money.
I will.
I'm not that guy. I'm never going to tell somebody what they should make, what they could make. If somebody is willing to pay for your product or your service, then let them. And then you take that money to the bank. There's no shame in that. But here's where I think some of the shame comes in. The Florida Marlins have been towards the bottom of the league in attendance over the last 20 years. They've never finished higher than 27th, outside of the one season when the new stadium was built in 2012. And
that's even with me going to 10 to 12 games a year. And you know me, if I go, it's got to be popular.
And at that point, too, again, there's newness involved, and of course there's going to be some popularity. But even if that being the case, 17 in the league in home attendance was the Marlins.
And it's a great park.
Yeah.
I've been to a few other parks who are flea bags in comparison, and it is a great park.
Yeah. The shame of it is that, again, I just don't feel that baseball itself promotes its stars. And if you don't promote the stars to the youth, then how are you supposed to promote the game? How is the game going to advance itself? How are you going to put people in the stands? I know we've been down to the Marlins Stadium. I, too, go down there for several games a year. And I can't tell you how many times I've been there where there's been more than 10,000 people in the stands.
You only go when the Phillies are playing.
Yeah, that's not true. I've been to a bunch. But I do go down for the Phillies games as well.
Well, I like it when you take Bill for the Phillies games because the Phillies lose.
Yeah, he is definitely the mush. We've got to put Bill in the bathroom. The point is this. When you go down to these Marlins games, and this is for some of the stadiums, obviously through baseball, these stadiums are empty. And why? My feeling is that not just through not promoting the game itself, but the ticket prices. It's too expensive to go down to some of these games. Why don't Major League Baseball find ways to self-promote from within to be able to put money back into the game again so that they can get these stadiums filled? Wouldn't you not want to have your stadium with 30,000 people in it as opposed to just 10,000 people in it? Sell those tickets for $1 a ticket. Get kids in the stadium.
Well, now more to that point, okay? One thing that I've noticed is that they have the daytime games during the summer, and they push the summer camps, okay, which is scads of kids, thousands of kids. And you go there and you can see, because they're all in their little monochromatic T-shirts in large blocks of kids.
Lots of orange, lots of yellow.
And literally, it is the most crowded I ever see that stadium. Now, I will say this, that is smart by the Marlins, because when you have 10,000 little kids, okay, then they're going to want to come back to a game and bring mommy and daddy and maybe their little brother or their big brother. So that's a good marketing ploy. They are doing something smart along the lines of what you want to see done. So
the key is to get families in the stadiums. Okay, the summer camp programs,
the summer camps,
the summer camp programs are great. The school programs are great. Once in the summertime, the camps take the kids to go, and that's great. That's the way it should be. That does give you the basic introduction to get the kids there.
Sure.
But there are normally 3 games a week at home, typically, if they're splitting their road games. There's 81 home games in the season.
Yeah.
And with the Marlins being towards the bottom in attendance year after year after year, something's got to be done. And very simply, dollar giveaway tickets, something to get these fans and these families into the stadium so they can afford to go enjoy a baseball game. That's one perspective. That's just in terms of getting people in the stadiums.
Sure.
I've got suggestions about businesses and how they could also help get some of these kids in the stadiums as well.
Well, they have their own marketing people. If you want to give them a call and see if they
saying,
can take
I've got
any
a close
ideas.
line here. Matter of fact, one of the guys just checked in on our site here, and he's a loyal Marlins fan. So, but in any case, again, baseball has to fix itself. It's one of the obviously it's dragging behind the other major sports. It's dragging behind football in terms of popularity. That's not going to change. Attendance as a whole, not just for the Marlins, but was down about 7% last year. The game itself needs an overhaul, and I think really it's kind of stuck in its own way.
Well, I do have one question. If you'll check out your monitor, are you watching the show live on your laptop?
I just clicked off.
You were?
Yeah, I was.
Oh, well, that's too bad because if you did, you'd see a picture. I'm wondering why Alex is pitching for the Astros. Because a friend of ours, Alex, he has a very similar beard, and Keuchel looks a lot like my friend Alex. I'm just wondering how did he end up becoming a pitcher for the Astros?
He's very talented. Yes.
You know me, I got to do something silly.
Yeah, and he's left-handed too. Ironically, I've seen him make the list. So yeah, he has a left-handed.
And he's a big dude like Keuchel too. So
can we come back and talk about some rule changes that I would suggest that may make things a little bit better in baseball? You know, the knock on the Super Bowl this year, people talked about no scoring and it was boring and all that stuff. It's a common thread that I seem to hear about baseball. There's not enough
the Patriots
action.
marched right down the field, scored a touchdown, and the Rams never had a chance at the ball. So.
True. But I've got a few suggestions I think that would help maybe speed the game up a little bit, perhaps, and also bring some offense to the game.
All right. Before you do that, quick Yankees pick. That way, all the Yankee fans that are watching this don't say, "Hey, you're the Yankees." Here, have some Yankees. Okay, you feel better? Good. There's Aaron Judge. Okay, bye. All right, go ahead. Let's hear about your rule changes.
Okay,
I had to do that. You have to
That's
play.
Fine. That's fine. Listen, for the Yankee fans out there, good luck this year. That's all I can say. Yeah, sure. Anyway, go Boston. In all reality, there's a lot of stuff, innovation that can be
fired!
Brought to the game of baseball, but baseball seems to be lagging behind the other sports when it comes to change. One of my suggestions to improve the game is to get rid of the shift. Documentation, the sabermetrics is the driving craze in baseball. Everything's numbers. That's what baseball is. It's stats, it's numbers. The sabermetrics suggests that balls in play are being hit 40 points less because of the shift. The shift basically designates putting 3 infielders on one side of second base on either side of the other, based on the hitters and the matchup.
Some teams put 4.
Yeah, I mean, just depending on the matchups and depending on, obviously, game script and such. The issue with this is that people are afraid, especially the purists, to make subtle changes to the game. They feel that if they take away advantages or disadvantages of the managers, they take cards out of their deck, it takes away from the authenticity of the game. These rules in place are there to help the game, not to hurt the game. Simple things like that would put the ball in play more, would get more runners on base, would make the game more exciting. That would lend to people seeing more runs being scored, more action, more guys on base, more runs being scored.
Well, now some purists will flip out and say, "Well, you're going to eliminate the pitcher's duel, then you're going to eliminate the 1-0 or the 2-1 game where you have one guy has a complete game and another guy runs 8 innings, and then they bring in a closer, and the purists are going to cry that it isn't boring enough."
The purists are dying. I'm a purist. We're the old men of the ones who watch baseball. Yes. The issue is this: is that the game has to regenerate itself, and it's only going to do that through its youth. If you're not supplementing youth programs in the cities, if you're not getting youth into the stadiums, you've got to get kids involved. And in order to do that, you've got to get the families involved. And in order to do that, you've got to make the tickets accessible and cheaper. And if you don't do that, then baseball's
you're circling it back around to before. Let's stick with the rule changes, though.
But the issue with the rule changes, again, rule changes are great. What they'll do is they will help or hurt, depending on opinions, the purists of the game. The rule changes, as subtle as they may be, are not going to improve the game. The game itself has to improve the game. It has to be with the marketing. It has to be with the player development. It has to be with youth development. Those are the focal points to make baseball better, to make it more accessible, to make it more affordable, to make it more enjoyable.
Well, now, let me ask you about the designated hitter, because I know that when you're talking to purists and you say the evil word, the designated hitter, you kind of get a bit of a flapping and a bit of a flushed look on their face.
Yeah, well, the National League, as we know, hasn't had a designated hitter. It's been in the American League.
It's about time.
You know what the designated hitter would do in the American League is it would open up another specific utility type player with a specific role. And there's nothing wrong with that. It makes teams stronger. It makes teams have to game plan better.
It's job creation.
Pitchers, I'm sure if you ask them in the National League, want no part of the DH. Why would they not want to go through the lineup and face a pitcher every third inning? But the American League's been doing it for a long time, and it's been successful. Another thing would be to open up rosters, open them up by an additional spot. It's 32 more jobs. Again, further increasing the versatility of the baseball teams to optimize what it is that their strengths are and to put a better product on the field.
I totally agree with that. I mean, and like you said before, it will increase the productivity, it will increase the action, it'll increase the scoring, and it'll increase the entertainment value. Because let's face facts, it's entertainment.
Exactly.
I mean, it is. It's entertainment.
More people in the stands, more runs on the board. It's the atmosphere. It's the excitement. It's people involved. To me, it sounds like it's something that needs to happen soon.
More popcorn and peanuts and Cracker Jacks.
And commercials, too. Oh, my gosh. Can we please spend some money that's been that the teams have been sucking in for the last so many years?
No more Viagra commercials. You're trying to act like there are a bunch of middle-aged old men watching this thing who can't get a boner or nothing here. So,
well, the business side of baseball is in trouble, in my opinion. The profit sharing and how that these basically teams can sit idle and still turn a profit. That's
why do I feel like you're talking about the Marlins again?
Well, again, it just goes back to the Marlins, but they're not the only team. There are other teams. The Pirates sold
Tampa
off
Bay
last
Rays.
year. Well, listen, even though Tampa doesn't spend, they still perform. They were in the chase last year.
Very well too.
Fairly well. They're still towards the bottom in attendance, but
Tropicana's a barn. Though.
It is.
I think it's huge.
You know, I saw Billy Joel there back, I think, in 1989, I believe it was. Maybe the first year that it actually opened, second year, 88.
You got a New York state of mind.
But the Tampa success model has been through through their organization, homegrown talent, smart trades, and just not overspending and just using a sound business model. So Tampa's been a successful organization. But, you know, Jeter coming here now with the Marlins, bringing success from the Yankees. I'm hoping there's some sort of game plan in place to get this organization turned around consistently. Not that it wins a World Series and sells off and drags its fans for 10 years and then it repeats the process again. So hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully we've got competitive, fun baseball to that stadium.
I think it is going to go down that way because one important thing that I'm noticing that the Marlins are doing is that they are focusing on international talent. Because we're down here in the middle of the Caribbean. Why not?
Sure.
I've always said they should go out, if they're going to spend money on free agents, they should go out and blow every nickel they can blow on good Cuban players.
Okay. Or Dominican or any other place.
Or Dominican players or whatever.
Yeah.
They should go and blow that money on good Cuban and Dominican players.
Yeah.
Why? You want to get Cubans and Dominicans. What's 70% of the population of South Florida? Cubans.
Well, it's getting there for sure.
It's getting there really close.
The thing is that certainly the international market has been a major part of baseball since its inception. Since it's allowed, I guess I should say. But still, it's been a major part in our lifetime, and certainly in the last several generations. But again, doing that would only strengthen the game. But again, there's tons of homegrown talent here.
And with Cuba opening, can you imagine seeing a Major League Baseball franchise in Havana?
I mean, again, it's possible. It's close enough.
One in San Juan, one in Havana.
Possible.
That would be freaking amazing.
Possible, yeah.
Can you imagine the Major League Baseball division making a Southeast division that would be the Braves, the Marlins, the Rays, Havana, San Juan? That would be freaking awesome.
You have logistics issues, I feel, though, when you have players playing for those teams. Where are they going to live? Are they going to want to live in those countries? Are they going to have to obtain dual citizenships? There's lots of logistics to be concerned about when it gets to on that
we
level.
had 2 Canadian teams at one time.
I know, but they're neighbors. Are they really a country, Canada? I'm sorry.
It's sort of like a big, cold neighborhood in the north side of town.
Is there a fence? Is there something you have to climb over to get there?
Don't even get started about politics. All right, why don't we take things to a break? All right, unless you have something else to add. You have something else to add?
I have a lot to add, but we'll do it when we get back.
What do you got? What?
No, I'm just saying. It just aggravates me, this whole baseball thing. Mr. Manfred, promote your game, okay? Get on something and promote your game. Get your faces, get your players out there. The season starts in 6 weeks, and I haven't seen one commercial on TV yet promoting anything related to baseball. Not only in my local market here, but on a national level. You have to search to find it. And if you have to search to find something, more than likely people are not going to take the time to look. So put it in their faces. Do something, baseball. There's enough money out there for you to put it back into the system to make the game better for everyone.
You feel like they're taking their fan base for granted?
It can be seen like that, I guess. I mean, I hate to assume emotions on people. I can only look and see it at results. And I know that the Marlins have turned a huge profit over the last 20 years, year after year. And there's been other teams too. I keep saying the Marlins, but we're talking a bit. That's our team, okay? That's our home team. The Marlins have turned a huge profit over the last several years. But yet, attendance is still going down, and not just for them, but across baseball. Attendance in all of baseball is going down. Profits are going down in baseball. The game is struggling, and they're faced with a 2021. The collective bargaining agreement expires. And I don't remember exactly the date of the last strike. I think it was 89, I think was the last major MLB strike. That's right around the corner. The baseball itself is not going to survive another strike, not with falling attendance and rising ticket prices and a lack of enthusiasm, not only in the smaller markets, but perhaps it's starting to leak in some of the other markets as well.
Yeah, they definitely have an existential crisis coming up, especially if they try that strike crap again.
Yeah, so promote, please, baseball. We're 6 weeks out. I'm excited about the baseball season because I'm a baseball fan. I'm afraid that sentiment is not widely accepted by most, and I think that's sad.
And on that sad note, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break.
I think it's sad. I want to cry.
No crying. There's no crying in baseball.
I love baseball, and it's a sport for all. It's a family experience.
All right.
Whatever.
So we're going to take a break. We'll come back with a rundown, a couple of the top stories, and then we'll take it home because I have to do some more pre-production work for the Gonzo Radio Show coming up at 8 p.m. right after this.
Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi, 6 Mississippi, 7 Mississippi, 8 Mississippi, 9 Mississippi, 10 Mississippi.
You guys, you lollygag the ball around the infield. You lollygag your way down to first. You lollygag in and out of the dugout. Do you know what that makes you, Larry?
Lollygaggers.
Lollygaggers. What's our record, Larry?
8-16.
8-16. How'd we ever win 8?
It's a miracle.
It's a miracle. This is a simple game. You throw the ball, you hit the ball, you catch the ball. You got it?
Gonzo Radio.
Back at it once again here at the Gonzo Radio Sports Desk. Let me turn some of the reverb down. I have a special reverb button here. So that was some pretty spirited baseball. You started to you started to schwitz a little on that one.
I was getting a little bit. I'm sweating right now, actually. Yeah.
And it's not that hot in here. It really isn't. You got all worked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, baseball is your jam. I know. I dig it. It's okay. It's cool. I kind of dig baseball myself too. But is there anything else that you want to add on your way out?
Just tune in. Just enjoy your games. Just bring your kids to the stadiums. Find ways to get there if you can. I know it's expensive, but just find ways. There's lots of different ways to get down to the stadium.
Marlins Park is cool as shit.
Oh, it's awesome. I'm hoping Jeter.
Cuban sandwiches.
Yeah, for sure. I'm hoping Jeter and the group this year are innovative in terms of ways to get more people in the seats, whether it's by lowering ticket prices or it's by promotional type stuff just to get us down there. So it's a good experience.
I have faith in him.
I hope so too.
Well, but there were a few other stories in the sports news. Actually, stuff that just broke here recently as we were going over the notes of the show. We were like, hey, wait, something else happened. And this one would be in the NBA. There seems to be a bit of a kerfuffle between the Philadelphia 76ers front office and the LA Lakers front office because one Elton Brand, the president of basketball operations for the Philadelphia Sixers,
who was a Laker, I think, in a very short
for
point
a very
in his
short
career.
Time. He was like five. He was on 5 or 6 different teams.
Yeah,
but he has denied Ben Simmons, but one Mr. Ben Simmons, his point guard, his mercurial young budding superstar point guard, denied him permission to train or even to speak to one Mr. Magic Johnson, Mr. Irvin Magic Johnson, who, for my money, is one of the greatest point guards of all time and one of my favorite players of all time.
And perhaps even better businessman of all time.
Oh.
His net worth is somewhere north of about $1 billion.
Is it $1 billion?
He's got lots.
Yeah, he let's see. He got into movie theaters, and then he parlayed his money from the movie theaters into
Did he do Starbucks or something?
No, well, yeah, and Starbucks.
Do Starbucks too.
But then he parlayed that into an ownership stake in the Dodgers.
Correct.
And then I believe he sold his ownership stake in the Dodgers to take a minority ownership stake in the Lakers and to become the president of basketball operations.
Yeah, he is not hurting for money, for sure.
No. Well, and he also got caught with his hand in the cookie jar.
Apparently.
Just a day earlier, he was being asked, why is he so salty with the Pelicans? Because the Pelicans jacked him around for a week and a half trying to make him negotiate with himself. Tried to make him try to acquire power forward Anthony Davis, which was a silly situation in itself. I believe the Lakers are ready to trade half the team.
Do you think the Lakers still carry around that prestigious stigma around the league where they're like the big kid on the block that nobody wants to really make friends with, that they're almost afraid of a little bit still, that they don't want to see get better? Is there resentment because of the Lakers organization that they've carried through all these years with all those titles?
Well, sure. First of all, they've won a lot of titles. Second of all, they did it with flash and panache and flair. Third of all, we're talking about the number 2 television market in the country. We're talking about the second largest city in the country. We're talking about a gigantic. It's the reason why, you know me, I'm a conspiracy theorist. I think the NFL is fixed, and the NFL wanted the Rams to be in the Super Bowl.
Okay, all right.
And they made sure it happened.
That'll be another show.
That's a plot.
Yeah.
But I think what you're seeing is a desire for that LA market, for the teams in the LA market to come back to prominence because it's money.
It's lucrative.
Especially a profit-sharing type of a league that the Major League Baseball is. Why wouldn't you want one of your LA franchises to, or like basketball is, why wouldn't basketball want one of its premier franchises to come back and be in the finals every year?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure their ratings back when Kobe was in the finals and the Lakers were going to, 4 finals in a row and they won 3 in a row?
Yeah, they were dominating.
And I'm sure that the ratings for those finals were through the roof.
Of course they were. Yeah, of course they were. With basketball, there's only been a few teams year after year, if you look back in history, that have pretty much dominated the landscape. The Lakers are clearly one of those teams.
And the Celtics.
And the Celtics, too. And the Sixers. And again, there's been periods of time. Well, sure, and the Bulls. And now it's the Warriors. And it's whoever team LeBron is on that can take them at least to get to the finals.
The LeBrons.
Yeah, but the Lakers situation is very complex. I feel like again, they just don't want to kind of make friends with the big kid on the block. With the whole Davis thing, again, everybody had that thing inked. Pretty much. And then for one reason or another, it was another player, and then it was another player, and then another draft pick, and then another draft pick, and then I think 5 more players and 6 more draft picks. And then finally they both walked away and said, you know what, we're not doing this now.
Well, I think a likely lineup that you're going to see, the 2 superstars I think that you're likely to see head to L.A. are probably going to be DeMarcus Cousins and Kevin Durant. I think Kevin Durant's going to go to the Lakers. I think he's going to go to the Lakers. I think he's sandbagging. I think he's deflecting when he's talking about how he has no idea who made the decision to trade Porzingis, Kristaps Porzingis for the Knicks, and he hasn't even thrown the Washington Wizards out there. Okay, he is so going to the LA Lakers. It's not even funny. Book it. Put it down right here. He's going to the LA Lakers.
Okay, my opinion is that he's not going to go to the Lakers. I feel like he's going to go to the Knicks. I think that he doesn't want to be anywhere close to LeBron James in terms of not only just on the court, but in the same locker room. Stories have been coming out that I've heard today about maybe Kyrie and Durant teaming up and going to the Knicks. The situation is extremely fluid. The season hasn't even finished yet. There's a lot of basketball still left to be played. I think Golden State is still the odds-on favorite. Clearly, Vegas thinks so. I still feel like there was some noise in that locker room earlier in the year between Draymond and Kevin Durant that may find itself on the court again at some point. If you're winning, it doesn't matter. But this is the regular season, and they're supposed to win in the regular season.
Well, needless to say, Durant's gone. He's done.
Yeah.
He's not going to be back next year.
And I think that's going to be facilitated because they're not going to repeat this year. And I think that'll be his parting gift, is him finding his way out. But again, very fluid, lots of rumors, lots of stuff going around. The thing about Durant that kind of gets me a little bit, and this is from other players in the league, obviously, if you listen to some of the sources, is he's soft. You would think a player with that much talent and that much skill, it seems to be that he's a little obsessed with this whole social media thing and about what people are saying about him. And he seems to be.
He's an ultimate millennial.
The reason why I'm bringing this up is because LeBron tends to like the dog in you. He's a guy that roots for the player, that has guys in his team that are dogs. He doesn't want a guy like Durant, in my opinion, that skin is not thick enough to handle some of the criticism that certainly is going to come his way, especially being second fiddle to LeBron James. So in no way, shape, or form.
Ego.
Yeah, well, a lot of it. You know what, though? And for some, it's deserved. Durant's one of the top 3 players on the planet. But that doesn't necessarily translate to championships from him going someplace else. It doesn't guarantee him anything.
Shape or form.
No shape or form. Talent doesn't always equate to success.
That's true. Speaking of talent, speaking of a talent that was kind of cut short this year by an off-the-field issue, one young Mr. Kareem Hunt, if I can just get his overlay up, boom, Mr. Hunt. Kareem Hunt was recently, as this afternoon, acquired by the Cleveland Browns.
Seems to be the destination of all these players with problems, doesn't it? May not come to fruition, but at least on the onset, it seems like a destination of guys that are maybe beating to a different drum.
Well, no, I think
Baker Mayfield come to mind?
This instance is, well, first of all, Baker Mayfield was just misunderstood. Baker Mayfield was judged by a few isolated incidents.
I'm not knocking. I'm not saying it's a negative thing. I'm just going by perception.
Right.
I feel perception and reality oftentimes are not the same. And in this case, it's going to prove, I think, Baker's going to be one hell of a quarterback. But again, just as a side note, my point was that these players are teams are taking chances. He's a hell of a talent, Kareem Hunt. Not to condone anything close to whatever was perceived that he did. But you have a man here that's not been arrested. He's not been formally charged. He's not been certainly put on trial. So there's been no fair due process for Mr. Kareem Hunt. Now, the video is damning. It's pretty telling. I mean, clearly kicking a woman under any circumstance is something that should never happen. And certainly if those are the facts, then certainly a ban should be in place. Those rules are in place for a reason. But a 3-second video clip of a scene that doesn't clearly tell the whole story, certainly I think there's going to be a little bit more to this that's going to come out in the next coming months leading up to the football season.
Well, I've always thought that if you have one of these security cam videos, you should have audio with it. Because I think that video with the audio would be a little bit different. Because the girl had the back of her head to the camera. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what is she doing? She's obviously saying, because she's pointing at him, and one of Hunt's friends is standing between him. You know she's like, fuck you, motherfucker. I don't give a fuck who you are. What are you going to do? You going to hit me? Well, guess what?
Yeah.
Add alcohol and poor judgment.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not victim shaming. I'm not victim blaming. But I think if we had the audio,
I want the whole
it would be a little
story.
different.
I want the whole story.
Because I'm sure he was standing there going, I already told you 5 times, get out.
I want to
already told you to
know
get out.
the relationship these two had prior. I want to know the relationship that they have now. More importantly, I want to know
It's probably none.
what happened that night. Well, again, but that could be just lawyers are telling them to do certain things and act certain ways. Maybe they were neighbors again. I don't know much about who they are in terms of where they interacted prior to the incident. The incident's ugly. If there's any validation to what happened from what we can see on the tape, then personally, I don't think he should be allowed to come back in the NFL next year. But the Cleveland Browns don't think so. They think that obviously whatever he's done or hasn't done, whether he's going to make amends in some fashion or form that they seem fit to allow him to get back on the field, that's up to the Cleveland Browns.
Well, the latest word is that the Browns and John Dorsey, their president of football operations general manager, they have done extreme diligence. So Dorsey knows something. Dorsey, listen, first of all, Dorsey is one of the smartest guys in football. And Dorsey also happens to be the guy 2 years ago who drafted Kareem Hunt. And everybody went, oh.
Yeah, there's the parallel there.
And yeah, so he knows the young man.
Well, there's no debating his talent. His talent's off the charts.
Right. And if he has a 6 or an 8 or even a 10-game suspension, you get that guy back week 11. And if you have any injury issues, you got fresh legs.
Yeah, it's true.
You got those fresh legs.
Yeah, it's true.
Week 11.
Yeah.
And the team is going to be greatly improved. So
you know what?
I think it was a prudent move.
It's very well could end up like that. It's a long road. It's still the off season. There's still a lot of questions to be answered. There's still more atonement by him, I'm sure, to be made. I'd even like to see the victim come out with some sort of conversation about this.
The lack of statement by the victim tells me
yeah,
lot.
it doesn't make me sit well either. But again, the whole situation is ugly. It needs to be explained and defined. And then certainly if there's any sort of punishment, it needs to be just. Whether or not it's 10 games, 6 games, the whole season, or a lifetime ban. The NFL and other sports organizations need to take a hard line on this stance. There's no room for that in
none
life
whatsoever.
Whether sports or not, just in life.
Right, and he's already served, I believe it was 7 games. He got after he got cut, so he's already lost 7 games.
Well, he was cut from the team, so he lost not only the rest of the paycheck, whatever bonuses he may have been entitled to. Yeah, he was. That's it. It's football's no guaranteed contract, so he stopped getting paid the day he was cut.
Yep, this is true. All right, well, I can see that. Oh, hey, look at that. We've gone way past what we would normally do, but that's okay. It's because me and you like to jibber jabber.
We do, yes.
So, any parting shots?
Just watch baseball, people. It's coming. Get down to the stadiums if you can. Watch a little on TV. There's so much good out there. Get your kids involved. Take them out to the parks. That's how it starts. It starts with the families. It starts with getting us out there.
on this baseball bone.
Oh, I love it. It's baseball season.
It's baseball.
It's baseball season. Oh my gosh, I can't wait.
Pitchers and catchers.
Oh, I can't wait. We're planning a baseball trip, actually. We're going to head over to the West Coast and chase my Phillies in Clearwater probably maybe the second week of March.
I love spring baseball, actually.
Yeah, I love it.
Small stadiums. You can get right on top of the plate. Hey, how you doing?
Love it. And there you go. That's a way to get to the stadiums. Inexpensive. Tickets prices are usually about half of what the regular season prices are. Mm-hmm. And the weather's better. So.
Yeah, and it's a similar experience. Yeah. All right. Well, make sure you check us out. I actually started a new Gonzo Radio Show Twitter account, and make sure you check out the Mazz at, what is it? Is it at
Damaz?
DAMAZZ. And check him out on Twitter, and of course at Gonzo Radio Sports Desk on the Instagrams. And of course on Facebook, which is an open public group. So go ahead and join up, and we'll give you little tidbits from in and out. So on behalf of myself and Damaz, say goodbye to the night, people.
Peace out, people.
Peace out. We'll see you guys next week at 7:00. The Gonzo Radio Show coming up at 8 p.m. sharp, which is in about 18 minutes. So you stick around and check that out, and we'll catch you guys next week. Peace.